Let's take a look at my France checklist. We haven't spoken enough about Griezmann or Pogba, Frank.
Yeah, I mentioned them a little bit because that's the ability of Deschamps, you know, being able to bring the best from players who are in difficulties with their club. And we've been very hard and maybe harsh on Pogba against Finland, like we've been with all the rest of the team. And we never thought that Pogba would start against Portugal, and he did, and had an absolutely fantastic game. Again today, I thought he will rest a little bit, but he put him again. Kante was suspended. And alongside Rabiot, who has been absolutely fantastic, maybe the best player of the whole team, he was there. Pogba did the game. And that's going to be interesting when he goes back to Manchester to see how Solskjaer was going to behave with him. Will he be on the bench? When I see the power and what Pogba can bring tonight and against Portugal, no way that he can be on the bench, even for Manchester United. And the same for Griezmann. Griezmann today was the master of orchestra of the game. You know, it was very good. He went to defend, even gave a ball back with his head to Lloris, you know, at the 85th minute. Fully fit, you know. And those two players, you know, we talked about the comment that Pogba did about saying that coming to the national team is a big breath. He shouldn't have said that. Of course he shouldn't. But that's the reality. When I see those two players, when they play for France, they're different.
But it doesn't help your cause if you're under the microscope, Jules, from Manchester United fans questioning, well, where is this Paul Pogba when he is given the chance by Solskjaer?
Yes, and I think there's different reasons. You can blame Paul, of course, and I think he knows that he should do better. And again, I've said it many times on the show, I think he knows that. But there's also everything around him that maybe has to be different a bit, or has to change, or maybe the environment is not as good as the one with the national team. And again, I go back to what Deschamps said tonight after the game. We asked him the question about Pogba and those 3 games he played. And he said, I don't want to criticize anyone, never mentioned Solskjaer's name, but he said, I know Paul, he's a world-class player. When he has to defend, he defends. When he has to go forward, he goes forward. When there's an assist to give, he gives the assist. Basically saying, like, you know, this is the real Paul Pogba. I don't know what's happening when he plays with his club, but this is not the real Paul Pogba that you see at United. The real one is the one that we saw in the last 4 days, for example. And I think, of course, he has a point. I think Solskjaer has a point as well if he's not happy with Pogba's performances with United. I just think it's not possible that a player is that good with his national team and that average with his club level. There's surely something to be done there for him to have that consistency, both at club level, international level.
I don't mean this to turn into a Pogba discussion, but we've kind of gone down this road. And just the point that I would make, Jules, is that you're saying, well, Deschamps has come out and said, look, he's always happy here. I don't know what's going on there. But it isn't the only coach at Manchester United who struggled to get the best out of Paul Pogba. Jose Mourinho, of course, famously said after he won the World Cup, he wanted to see that sort of performance as well. So it's not an anomaly that Pogba's not playing well under Solskjaer. It seems more the case he cares more for France.
Maybe, although I think he loves Manchester United. He's happy at that club. He loves the fans. This is a club obviously very important in his life because he arrived there when he was so young, left, and came back a few years later. So this is, I think that the club in itself and the people around that club, there's no problem there at all. I just think that he needs to find a way of expressing himself in the same way that he does with the national team. Whether he plays in the same position, obviously, as we said as well many times, the players around him at United are not the same as in the national team. We could always debate on which ones is better or which formation is better. But I think that Paul, with the talent that is his talent, should be very good anywhere, pretty much on the pitch. So there's something maybe that has to click for him at United, that click again, because he's had some good games in the past. But maybe, and I say that again every time, and it's not always true, but I'm really hoping that he can carry the form that he showed in the last 2 games with United, starting at this weekend in the Premier League, for example, and then that he can, again, find that consistency, because there's no reason why he can't just take that form with France, have that momentum, how dynamic he was again tonight, and do the same with his club.
People shout at me, Frank, and I get it, because we talk about it a lot, but this juxtaposition of Pogba in a France shirt is very different to Pogba in a Manchester United shirt.
it's different. I don't want to defend too much Pogba. The thing is, when you realize what he's capable of not doing with Manchester United and when he's capable of doing with France, you have to consider the fact that maybe he's around players who suits better to his football. And you can say that because you see from other players like Griezmann, who's having the same kind of problem, with Barcelona, being average with the club, being fantastic with the national team, and you can add so many other players, So maybe you have to consider that the level of the national team is better than the level of some clubs where the players play, and that's quite normal because you have normally the creme of la creme. But the thing is, Pogba is responsible for also what he does with Manchester United, and he has to make sure that he works properly with the club because that's the club who pays him every week. And he has to do better, that's for sure.
Meanwhile, just a word on Sweden, Jules. A miserable Nations League campaign, just the one victory. Meanwhile, their greatest ever player is tearing it up in Serie A. Is there an argument to say that maybe they should get him back?
100%. I think if Marcus Berg, who's 34 years of age, so only 5 years younger than Zlatan, and he was an average player now, to be fair, okay, he still plays in the Champions League with Krasnodar, but he's way past his best. If he can still be the captain of this team, starting for Sweden, Ibra could walk in this team easily. The problem, as we know, is that he doesn't get on at all with Jan Henderson, the Swedish head coach, national team manager. Many times he's had very strong words against him, on him, even calling him an idiot a couple of times before. So I don't think there's any way back for Zlatan, simply because Jan Henderson would lose faith completely, if he was calling back someone who's in a way treated him so badly. But it's a real shame because I still think that Ibra could help this team. He could help someone like Alexander Isak to develop all the young players, Kulusevski, for example, as well. He would be such a good role model for them. Unfortunately, I just don't think he would ever return, at least not under this head coach.
It is a shame, isn't it, Frank, overall, just from football's point of view?
Exactly, that's my concern. I want to see Zlatan. I barely follow the calcio, and I don't see him every time. And I want to see him in an international level, and I'm sure he can serve Sweden very well, according to what we saw today. We have the kind of problem, with, and there is always a debate for different reasons, but always a debate with Benzema. Should he be back with the national team of France? But we have fantastic other players to make sure that Deschamps have maybe the right of not putting Benzema back. But I don't see the same for Sweden. I mean, as Jules just said, if Berg can play for the national team, there is no reason why Zlatan couldn't be in that team, because he can serve his country very well. He's going to be a perfect image for the new players, the young players. And I would have loved to see him playing against Kimpembe and Varane tonight. It would have been very interesting. I didn't see that competition, and I missed that.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.